Hey, hello, thank you for tuning in. I had a lot of ideas for tutorials for last year, and I ended up getting busy with other life stuff, regrettably, so I have a little bit of catching up to do or making up to do. So for my first October tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this wicked awesome Kraken arm or leg that you can put in your yard, I guess, or have it leaning up against something in your house for a party, I suppose, a socially distanced party, because we're all smart, right? My plan was to stick it in the yard with a ring of mulch around it so that it has that appearance that it's erupting up out of the ground, and I'm going to make a giant lollipop for it to be reaching for using a kickball, some PVC, some cellophane, and a little bit of ribbon. So in order to make this Kraken arm, it's just a paper mache sculpture. So for any sculpture, really, you need a form or a base to build off of. So the first thing my husband and I did was we got some recycled chicken wire. I put a post up on Facebook because I knew somebody had a roll of chicken wire sitting in their garage or their barn somewhere, and sure enough, one of my good friends did, so thank you so much, Deb. We got the chicken wire home, and we laid it out flat in the front yard, and we cut a A-shaped piece out of it, so it had a wider base and it tapered into a point. I would recommend wearing gloves and jeans when you're working with the chicken wire, because you will get scratched and nobody wants a metal scratch. So we cut it in an A shape, and then we folded it over onto itself until we got the width that we wanted. And then we took pliers and we twisted the bits of the chicken wire together so that it locked itself together. And then I ordered a case of masking tape on Amazon. I'll put links for everything that I use below. We ordered a case of masking tape on Amazon, and I just worked my way up from bottom to top and then back down again with the masking tape to seal that chicken wire. After the first coat of masking tape, I realized it added a lot of rigidity to the frame or the base, so I had a lot more confidence in the structure itself just after using the one coat of masking tape, so I went ahead and did another coat. And then that was very time consuming, so if you have somebody to help you, if you want to get a bottle of wine and one of your friends and you guys can have like a wrap party, I would suggest that, or just put on some good tunes and know that you're not going anywhere for a while once you get started wrapping. So after the form was covered in masking tape, I just made a basic paper mache recipe with flour, water, and a sprinkle of cinnamon and a little bit of salt. Salt's supposed to help with bacteria. If you mix paper mache together and you let it sit and you don't refrigerate it, you will see why you would want a little bit of salt in it, because it gets really nasty really fast. You can keep it in a jar in the fridge for a couple days. Anyhow, so I used salt, water, flour, and a little bit of cinnamon for smell. I mean, cinnamon smells like autumn, so why not, right? And then I used a X-Acto knife and a straight edge on a self-healing mat, and I cut strips of the newspaper. My local library was kind enough to put away last month's newspapers for me, so I could just go pick them up at the beginning of this month, which is awesome. So I got to recycle even more material, so thank you guys so much for that. In hindsight, I should have used larger pieces of newspaper. I'm just used to doing working on a smaller scale with paper mache, and it took a lot longer using these little tiny strips. And I got wise the second time, my second batch of newspaper that I cut, and I used larger rectangles, so it went a little bit quicker. But you dip the newspaper into your big bowl of paper mache, hold it up, use 2 fingers and just scoop the excess paper mache off, because really less is more with paper mache. You don't want it gloopy or gloppy, you want it to dry quick. And all the way through too, because you could move forward with your project not realizing you've got thick pieces of paper mache that are still wet inside, and that would deteriorate your sculpture pretty quickly. So yeah, less is more. Just remember, you want to scrape all that excess off using your fingers or the side of the bowl. So I did 2 coats of paper mache from top to bottom. At the end here, you can see it's pretty sturdy too. I have a lot of faith that this is going to last at least through 1 season. I had to use really tiny strips of newspaper to get it to go down to a point here. So after everything was covered in the newspaper and fully dry, I ordered these bags of pool noodles on Amazon. I want to say this was $15. It was no more than 20, and I think I got a pack of 10 or 12. But I'll put the link in the description of this video below. Initially, I was using scissors, and I would stab straight through and take the time to saw the scissors all the way around to cut these rounds. And then I realized that a serrated knife would work a lot better. And I actually employed my daughter to help me with this too. She's 8 and she really wanted to help, so I taught her how to carefully use a serrated knife, and I sat with her on the floor. And she cut a bunch of these suckers out for me. And I like the fact that they vary in width and size. I thought it had a more natural, I don't know, maybe more realistic look to it too. So I printed up a couple drawings of Krakens, and I just did 2 by 2 until it wouldn't fit anymore. And then I just kind of staggered it down towards the end. And then what I would have done is cut really thin pieces and cut a portion of it out to make smaller circles and then glue that on. But seeing as I had some help, I wanted to be very encouraging with what was going on, so we just moved forward. But to make some smaller suckers, we used Cheerios and hot glued those on and then sealed them with Mod Podge. And I think it has a really nice effect to it. So once that was dry, I had read that spray paint will eat a pool noodle. So I gave it a test, and I spray painted some with this Rust-Oleum 2-time spray paint. And I let it sit outside and nothing happened to it. I let it sit for a day or 2 and it didn't shrink and it didn't deteriorate anyway. Even so, I took Mod Podge and I sealed each one of these pretty thoroughly, not just to protect the foam, but also to kind of fill in the cracks in the sides where it didn't exactly meet the sculpture. So once that Mod Podge was dry, you can see we kind of have a little bit of fade from gray to black here. I thought that I would have to use newspaper to kind of mask off the edges, but I didn't. I'm actually better at spray painting than I thought. I see those people like tagging stuff and graffiti artists. Y'all are amazing. Like I can barely paint a straight line, or so I thought. I'm actually, like I said, I'm better at it than I thought I would be, and I was able to paint a straight line of gray and black down the side. So I just started with the gray, and I did 2 coats of the gray, and then once that was completely dry, it didn't take very long. It was 100 degrees the day that I was painting. I went back over the other side with black gloss because a Kraken is a sea monster, and I wanted to have some of that shine to it. And then once that was fully dry, I went ahead and gave it a twice over with this crystal clear enamel, just to fully ensure that it was completely waterproofed. And so yeah, the next step is just planting it in the front yard next to that lollipop. I didn't want to put it out in the front yard last week, even though it was finished, because we were going away for a week and I just had a bad feeling someone was going to do something to it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out in the yard tomorrow probably. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. My next tutorial, I have my fingers crossed because I've never used EVA foam for armor before in my life, and I decided to try to create a costume that there are no tutorials for. So just to prove my point to you that you can do it yourself as well. You just have to keep barreling forward until you're finished with that thing that you wanted to do, and no one will know that you were just winging it the entire time. So yeah, bye. Thank you guys for watching. Happy Halloween.